Have you ever wondered why some men completely change after years in a sexless marriage? Why they become quiet, distant, angry, emotionally numb, or suddenly obsessed with work, hobbies, or even strangers online? Most people think men only care about physical intimacy, but that's not the full truth. For many men, intimacy is emotional reassurance, it's connection, it's validation. It's the feeling of being wanted by the person they love most. And when that disappears for months or even years, something inside them slowly breaks. A sexless marriage rarely destroys a man overnight. It happens quietly, slowly, like water, dripping on stone, one rejection at a time, one lonely night at a time, one excuse after another. At first, he tries to understand. Maybe she's stressed. Maybe she's tired. Maybe life has simply become overwhelming. He tells himself to be patient. He avoids bringing it up because he doesn't want to pressure her. He convinces himself things will improve soon. But then weeks become months, months become years, and eventually, he starts asking himself dangerous questions. Am I unattractive now? Does she even love me anymore? Why does she never touch me first? Am I just a roommate? That's where the emotional damage begins. Most men are never taught how deeply rejection affects them emotionally. Society tells men to man up and ignore their feelings. So instead of expressing pain, many men bury it. And buried emotions don't disappear. They transform. Sometimes they become anger. Sometimes depression, sometimes emotional shutdown, sometimes addiction, sometimes cheating. And the saddest part, many wives never realize how serious it has become until the marriage is already emotionally dead. One of the biggest ways a sexless marriage breaks men is through silent loneliness. You can be surrounded by family, children, responsibilities, and still feel completely alone in your own home. Imagine sleeping next to the person you love every night, but feeling unwanted every single time you reach for them. Over time, many men stop initiating intimacy entirely because rejection becomes humiliating. Every not tonight feels less like a moment, and more like a statement about their worth eventually. He stops trying, and when a man stops trying emotionally, the marriage enters dangerous territory. He may still go to work, pay bills, smile at dinner, help with the kids, but internally, he begins disconnecting from the relationship. He starts living beside his partner instead of with her. This emotional withdrawal often confuses women. They notice he's less affectionate, less talkative, less excited, but they don't connect it to the long-term absence of intimacy. What many people fail to understand is that for men, physical intimacy is often tied directly to emotional connection. When intimacy disappears, many men begin feeling emotionally abandoned. And once emotional abandonment sets in, resentment starts growing quietly. Resentment is dangerous because it changes how a person sees their partner. Little annoyances become huge problems. Small disagreements become emotional explosions. Kindness disappears, patience disappears, even respect can slowly fade. A man who once felt deeply connected to his wife may start feeling invisible in his own marriage. Some men react by becoming cold and distant. Others become desperate for validation elsewhere. This is why sexless marriages often create emotional vulnerability to affairs. Not because every man is simply chasing pleasure, but because many are starving for affection, attention, and emotional closeness. Sometimes all it takes is one person showing interest, one compliment, one conversation where he feels heard again. Suddenly, he feels alive in a way he hasn't felt for years. And that emotional hunger can become incredibly dangerous. Now, this doesn't excuse cheating. Betrayal is still betrayal. But understanding why emotional disconnection happens is important. if couples want to save their relationship before it's too late. Another painful effect of a sexless marriage is how it destroys masculine confidence. Many men tie part of their identity to feeling desired by their partner. When that desire disappears, they often internalize it as personal failure. He starts questioning his appearance, his attractiveness, his value, his masculinity. Even successful men can feel emotionally crushed by constant rejection at home. A man can have money, status, achievements, and still feel broken if the person he loves no longer wants intimacy with him. That emotional insecurity often leaks into other areas of life. He may become more irritable, more withdrawn, less motivated, or emotionally exhausted. Some men throw themselves into work to escape the pain. Others become addicted to pornography because it feels safer than rejection. Some stop caring about themselves altogether, and the longer the situation continues without honest communication, the deeper the damage becomes. But here's something many couples never discuss openly. Sexless marriages are rarely only about sex. Usually, they are symptoms of deeper emotional problems, stress, resentment, unresolved conflict, poor communication, body image issues, hormonal changes, mental health struggles, emotional neglect. Sometimes one partner feels emotionally disconnected long before intimacy disappears physically. Other times, exhaustion from daily life slowly kills desire without either partner realizing it. Children, careers, financial pressure, and routine can quietly replace romance if couples stop prioritizing each other. And this is where many marriages begin dying silently, not because love completely vanished, but because connection stopped being nurtured. The truth is, intimacy requires emotional effort from both people. Many men feel rejected physically, while many women feel disconnected emotionally. Both partners suffer, but they often express pain differently. The husband may ask for more physical affection. The wife may ask for more emotional support, but instead of hearing each other, couples often enter a cycle of blame. He feels unwanted. She feels pressured. He withdraws emotionally. She withdraws physically. And the cycle keeps repeating until both people feel trapped in frustration and loneliness. One of the most heartbreaking things about sexless marriages is how normal they can start feeling. Couples stop kissing, stop flirting, stop touching casually, stop complimenting each other. They become business partners managing a household instead of romantic partners building intimacy. And because life gets busy, years can pass before either person fully realizes how emotionally disconnected they've become. By then, the damage is often deep. Many men in sexless marriages describe feeling emotionally invisible, like their needs no longer matter, like they're only valued for responsibilities, not affection. That emotional neglect can slowly harden a man emotionally. He becomes less expressive, less vulnerable, less affectionate, not because he wants to, but because rejection teaches him emotional self-protection. And sadly, emotional self-protection often looks like emotional indifference. But underneath that indifference is usually pain. A lot of pain. Some men never talk about it because they fear looking weak. Others don't even know how to explain what they're feeling. They just know something inside the relationship feels broken. And when emotional intimacy disappears long enough, some men begin grieving the marriage while still living inside it. That's one of the saddest realities of all. A relationship can remain legally intact while emotionally collapsing in slow motion. Now, if you're watching this and recognizing your own marriage in these words, understand this: not every sexless marriage is doomed, but ignoring the problem absolutely makes it worse. Silence is poison in relationships. Couples who survive these struggles are usually the ones willing to communicate honestly without attacking each other. That means having uncomfortable conversations before resentment becomes permanent. Instead of blaming, both partners need to ask deeper questions. What changed between us? When did we stop connecting? What emotional needs are going unmet? How can we rebuild closeness again? Because rebuilding intimacy isn't only about sex itself. It starts long before the bedroom. It starts with emotional safety, attention, affection, appreciation, quality time, physical touch outside of sex, feeling desired again. Many couples wait until intimacy completely disappears before taking action. But healthy marriages require maintenance long before crisis rise. Small habits matter more than people realize. Holding hands, flirting, laughing together, date nights, compliments, unexpected affection. These things may seem small, but they protect emotional connection over time. Without them, distance grows quietly. And when emotional distance grows, physical intimacy often disappears with it. Another important truth is this: men need emotional intimacy too. A lot of society acts like men only want physical satisfaction, but most men deeply crave emotional closeness, affection, reassurance, and feeling desired by their partner. When they don't receive that for long periods, many begin feeling emotionally starved, and emotional starvation changes people. It changes how they see themselves, how they see relationships, how they trust love. Some men eventually stop believing intimacy will ever return, so they emotionally give up. That emotional surrender is often the beginning of the end. Because once hope disappears in a marriage, rebuilding becomes much harder. But hope can return if both people are willing to confront the issue honestly instead of pretending everything is fine. That means listening without defensiveness, being vulnerable without shame, understanding each other's emotional pain instead of competing over who suffers more. The goal should never be winning arguments. The goal should be rebuilding connection. And sometimes professional help becomes necessary. Marriage counseling isn't weakness. Sometimes couples need guidance to communicate honestly after years of emotional distance. The longer resentment sits unresolved, the harder intimacy becomes. But couples who genuinely work together can often rebuild stronger emotional bonds than before. Because intimacy isn't only about physical attraction, it's about feeling emotionally seen, emotionally safe, and emotionally wanted. And every healthy marriage needs that. At the end of the day, a sexless marriage doesn't only hurt men. It hurts both partners in different ways. But men often suffer silently because they've been taught to hide emotional pain instead of expressing it. That silence can slowly destroy connection, confidence, and emotional health if left unresolved for too long. So if there's one thing to remember from this video, it's this: intimacy is not a luxury in marriage. It's emotional glue. Without connection, relationships slowly drift into loneliness. And loneliness inside marriage can feel even more painful than being alone. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who may need to hear this message. And remember, strong relationships don't survive by accident. They survive when both people keep choosing each other, emotionally, physically, and mentally, even after the honeymoon phase ends.